Welcome everyone. Today we'll talk about inventory, logistic and distribution management so the agenda is very simple. We'll talk about the strategic importance of supply chain. We would love to identify at least one, two, three, probably six sourcing strategies. Explain the issues, the opportunities thereby. Describe the steps in supplier selection. That is the crux of the presentation. Apart from it, that needs to be catered to. What are the major issues of logistic management and probably complete percent of asset committed to inventory as an inventory turnover basis? How do we go with it? So, what is supply chain management? The objective of supply chain management is to coordinate activities within the supply chain to maximize supply chain competitive advantages and benefits to the ultimate customer. Remember, the ultimate customer is the end customer who actually consumes the product. The importance thereby is all about based upon the coordination of the supply chain activities, starting with the raw materials and ending with the satisfied customers, well-defined product, quality services. So yes, it is the coordination that actually leads to that wow moment for the customer satisfaction. Right, it started from the raw material. Include suppliers, manufacturers, probably service providers, distributors, wholesalers, retailer, and the end customer thereby. So understand the importance of supply chain strategic management. How important? Remember, the large portion of the sales dollar is spent on purchases. Supplier relationship increasingly integrated and long term. Why? Because it improves innovation. Because it improvises on the speed design and reduces cost. Remember, one way to increase profitability is to reduce your cost altogether. Managing supplier relationship has its own emphasis, has its own advantages thereby. Now look at supply chain management, the strategy that impacts. Remember, we are talking about these three strategies. These three strategies are we looking into it: the low cost strategy, the response strategy, and the differentiation strategy. In terms of primary selection of suppliers, now what do we come across with it? With the low cost strategy, it will be looking at whoever is producing me the lowest cost method of providing me these product raw materials and so on and so forth. For response strategy, it might be capacity building, it might be looking at speed of distribution, the flexibility that can be asserted about it. In cases of differentiation strategy, we are talking about product development skills, willing to share information jointly and rapidly developing product thereby. Now, coming back to supply chain inventory, if we go across with the supply chain inventory as per se, it will tell me exactly for the low cost strategy is to bring down inventory as much as possible. Absolutely have zero inventory. That would be the lowest of cost of strategy. For response strategy, it would be having a buffer stock. Probably that would hasten the delivery of products or raw materials or speedy supply. The differentiation strategy is to minimize inventory to avoid product obsolescence. Why? Because you are launching a new product every now and then. In terms of distribution network, this is where it is very relevant out there. For a low-cost strategy, it is inexpensive transportation, selling through discount distributors or retailers perhaps. Response strategies would be fast transportation, providing premium customer services. And the differentiation strategy is all about gathering and communicating market research data thereby. So knowledgeable sales staffs are required for differentiation strategy. Remember, we are looking only at the distribution aspect about it. Now, let us come with the product design strategies. Now, what does it reflect around here? The product design strategy as far as the low cost strategy is concerned is to always have maximum performances or maximum number of utilities for the product and to minimize the cost as it is a cost sensitive market or strategy. Response strategy would be low setup time, rapid production, and differentiation strategy is all about being modular design to aid product differentiation thereby. The sourcing issues, make or buy, is what we are looking into is choose between obtaining products, services externally as opposed to producing them within our own means internally. Outsourcing is transfer of traditional internal activities and resources to outside vendors. Efficiency and specialization focus on core competencies as the case might be. So we are looking at outsourcing. So should we outsource or should we manufacture on our own? That is the question. Are we looking at efficiency? Are we looking at specialization? Are we looking at core competencies? What are the sourcing issues thereby? Allow me to give you the 6 sourcing strategies. There are many suppliers. Somewhere down the corner, you have plentiful of suppliers. In fact, you are spoiled with the number of suppliers that are vying for your business. And it can be a diagrammatically opposite scenario of having too few or too little suppliers. That means there are few suppliers and you have to choose the best of them. In fact, in probability, there might not be any much of a choice between the suppliers also. The third would be vertical integration. That means, are you going to go forward with your business as in becoming a customers or winding up the end products into the retail store by your own stores, opening up your own stores? Or are you going backward integration as far as going towards your raw material, probably sourcing something? Maybe if it is a mining area, minerals that you're looking at to start sourcing a mine, owning up a mine. Then comes a joint venture. This is where the unique characteristic, or should I say, the core competencies or competitive advantages, unique firms may join hands and probably they start deciding to garnering major market share. So we look forward joint ventures, and then we have the Keiretsu network, which is the Japanese formats of doing business altogether. And yes, virtual companies probably they will be looking, tying up on the net, and probably ensuring that the business remains afloat. So these are the 6 sourcing strategies which will be discussed in subsequent slides. Here it is. Many suppliers commonly used for commodity products, fast moving commodity products. Remember, FMCG. Purchasing is typically based on price. Supplier compete with one another. Supplier is responsible for technology, expertise, forecasting, cost, quality, and delivery thereby. So many suppliers, you look at it, how beneficial the company is all about it. Purchasing is typically on the price. Supplier compete with each others. Suppliers are responsible for technology, expertise, cost, quality, and delivery. But what happens when there are few suppliers? Buyers from the long-term relationship with the few suppliers, probably on the bulk material that they are going to go about it. They having a long understanding, memorandum of understanding for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Create value through economies of scales and learning curve improvement. Supplier more willing to participate in GIT. GIT is all about just-in-time programs and contribute design and technology expertise. Cost of changing supplier is absolutely huge. Trade secrets and other alliances that comes around. Now let us talk about vertical integration. Vertical integrations, you see what is happening with the raw material that comes around it. We have the backward integrations out here and the forward integration about the finished goods and the raw supplier. We have already said out to you. In terms of backward integration, we might be talking about owning up a mine to source our minerals. Or forward integration, we can set up a retail chain for selling of our products. And this is the business that we go around with the current transformation of manufacturing certain things. It might be Pepsi to the bottling plant, Apple to chip maker, or being a retail stores, and so on and so forth that comes around it. We have been trying to tell it to you every now and then what is expected and what is the ground realities that comes into play. Right. Any further elaboration? Please let me distinguish for you to understand thereby. Now, moving to the next slide, if there are any that comes out here, we talk about the vertical integrations of the material that comes. Absolutely. So, develop the ability to produce goods, produce services as far as previously purchased. Integration may be forward, maybe backward, maybe towards the customers, maybe towards the end suppliers. Can improve cost, can improve quality, inventory, but requires capital and managerial skills and demand. Risky industries with rapid technological change. Why risky? Because product changes very fast and very quickly. Why? Because of the technology. Why? Because of the customer taste changes, moves around. So joint ventures is formal collaboration, enhances skills, secure supplies, and probably reduce costs thereby. So we are playing with the competitive advantages of more than 2, 3 firms. Cooperation without diluting the brand and conceding the competitive advantages as I have been trying to. Keiretsu's network, a middle ground between suppliers and the vertical integration. Supplier becomes a part of the company coalitions. As a part of the coalitions, altogether. So the supplier business also begins to improve if the coalition businesses improves automatically. Often provides financial support for supplier through ownership or loans. Members expect long-term relationships and provide technical expertise and stable deliveries. May extend through several levels of supply chain. Now, we talk about virtual companies rely heavily on a variety of supplier relationship to provide these services as on when on demanded. Fluidic organizational boundaries that allows creation of unique enterprise to meet the changing market demand. Relationship may be short, may be long term. Exceptional lean performance, low capital investment, flexibility and speed is the demand, is the need for the day. This is the characteristics of the virtual companies. I again rely on the variety of supplier relations, fluidic organizational boundaries, relationship can be time oriented, which may be short term, long term, exceptional lean performances, low capital investment, and thereby. We talk about logistic management. Objective is to obtain efficient operations through the integration of all material acquisition, movement, and storage activity. It is a frequent candidate for outsourcing. Absolutely, one of those most frequent candidate. Why? Why? Because there are other uncertainties associated with the transportation process. Allows competitive advantages to be gained through reduced cost and improved customer services thereby. Allow me to take you through the shipping system, right? Now, how does this shipping system comes around it? We can have something called trucking, wherein we can move a vast majority of manufactured goods. Now, trucking essentially is utilized vividly for the last mile delivery. Chief advantages is flexibility. Did I say last mile delivery? Yes, it all reflects onto the flexibility. Railroads, on the other hand, is capable of carrying huge loads altogether at the same time. What does it mean? That means average cost for transporting load becomes much easier and much lower. So little flexible through containers, and piggybacking does help to tap with this. Then we have the other shipping methods of air freights. Now air freight is extremely fast, extremely flexible, but it is only recommended for lighter loads. It is definitely not recommended for huge transportation. One, when it is a very carbon intensive, it leaves a carbon footprint on our planet. Two, it might be expensive, very expensive. Then we have the most cost effective economic ways of shipping system is through literally through ships or waterways, if I may say so. Typically used for bulky low value cargo, used when shipping cost is more important than speed per se. And yes, the recent development has come across is the pipelines and the multimodal things. You are using a transportations of oil, gas, of course, of late, very various chemical ingredients that has been transported through pipelines. We have multimodal concepts that is coming around it, which can have a combination of the various shipping methods that I've already discussed with you, common, especially in international shipments, aided by standardized thereby. So cost and speed of shipment. Faster shipping is generally more expensive and probably than the slower shipping. Faster methods tends to involve smaller shipping sizes, while slower method tends to involve large shipment sizes. These are the things that need solution. Warehousing. It may be expensive, but alternative ways may be so, may be found out. Fundamental purpose is to store goods, may provide other functions. Let's say other functions like consolidations, break bulk, cross docking, channel assembly. Now, what is break bulk is where you have a lot huge consignment which has been broken up into a smaller consignment, smaller minuscule consignment, and probably delivered it to different destination altogether, or the other way around, smaller consignment being assimilated into a bulkier consignment and probably then move to a different destination altogether. So this is where warehouses can actually help us in consolidation, in break bulk, in cross docking, assembly thereby. We come into TPLs or the third party logistic. Outsourcing logistic can reduce inventory, can reduce cost, can improve delivery, can improve speed of delivery thereby. So outsourcing helps, and that is the reason why logistic is the one of the major thing which is usually been obviously been outsourced. coordinate supply inventory with the delivery services, may provide warehousing, assembly, testing, shipping, and let us look into the distribution management there now. The outbound flow of products is all about rapid responses, product choice, and services. What are the rapid response that we talk about it? Because it can be communicated over phone, it can be intimated via email before actually the product comes around it. It is what we are talking about, payable or wire transfers, everything, and it can be done absolutely in a legal fashion. So if we have a way bill altogether, the things can be stuck and people will get to know what has been transported in advance. Increasing the number of facilities generally improves response times, customer satisfaction, and total cost are absolutely. Now, talking about the distribution management, if you look into it on an x-axis, what am I saying is I am plotting the number of facilities, and on the y-axis is the response time or the time factor that comes around it. And if you look into it, if the number of facilities increases, the response time get slower down on the corner. Similarly, for what happens with the cost dollars. If you look into it, the facility cost, the fixed cost, the inventory cost, the transportation cost, the total logistic cost that comes around here, absolutely, it comes lowest at one point before it start escalating on the top. This is the point which is the lowest point of cost, right? And this is the optimum value which can be transported at the lowest average cost per use, per kgs, per miles, per tons, where you want to go in. That is the lowest average price. Beyond it, beyond either way, it doesn't make economic sense. And this is known as, this quantity is known as EOQ, or economic order. Distributions management, what we are looking into it, what is my cost and what is my revenue. Now, how do we maximize revenue? This is where you need to understand the logistic part and the revenue part. Now, EOQ might be at this level, right, at the lowest possible level, but maximum profit is on the other level, which might actually invigorate or motivate you to go for an extra kind of logistic pressures to be taken care of, because the margin becomes much more affordable, the revenue trickles down. That is what all about it. Remember, distribution management is all about facilities, packaging, logistic, selection and development of dealers or retailer. Downstream management as important as an upstream. With this, we would love to wind up this particular presentation for you. Thank you for watching this video till the end.